And look, we're live. The magic of video connecting across
Ooh.
the country. I'm sorry for the late start because apparently my computer decided not to be friends with me today. But if you hung around and are tuning in, great. If you're watching the replay, that's awesome as well. I am so excited about today's guest for many reasons, but mostly because Christine and I have never actually met before. We've been social media friends for years and we've crossed paths, I'm sure, in real life, but this is actually our first conversation.
I'm very excited about this. I'm sitting here. I'm not just being rude. I'm trying to start a watch party.
Oh,
And
no,
it's just
please.
not playing ball. It's a day of is Mercury in retrograde or something? It's just like not working
Mercury is
out.
going into retrograde this week.
Oh, so this could be the shadow of it. I'm one
So
of those.
yeah, we're in shadow. We're like this, definitely. Oh, so I should introduce myself. So if you're tuning in, I'm Deborah Eckerling. I'm the author of Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, and founder of the Deb Method. And I am all about helping people figure out what they want and how to get it. And I lead Goal Chat on Twitter every Sunday night. And Monday, I bring in a special guest to continue the conversation. And today, I have Christine Gritmon, who is and I love, you are an organic social media specialist and all around Google person who helps people bring attention to themselves through social media branding, etc. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, what did I miss? Can you introduce yourself better than that, or is that?
I mean, I can give it a shot, but yeah, I'm Christine Gritmon. I do two things really. That's the thing. I'm sort of in transition because I do teach small business owners how to do their own social media better. So I'm a strategist and trainer. And then I also am a personal branding coach. So I help professionals of all sorts, even fellow marketers, figure out how to put themselves forward in a bigger, stronger way on social media.
And it's so important because if people can't find you, what is the point, right?
Exactly.
And we went back and forth because I wanted to have you on, and my January goal chats have all been about community because you need your people to achieve your goals. And social media is such an important part because it's like where people find you and where you connect, right?
Yeah, it's such an incredible community building and nurturing tool. A lot of people think that social media sort of ends once you've created that post. You know, they stress out about what are they going to post, and then once they posted something, they feel like, okay, that's it. I did what I was supposed to do. But posts are just the beginning. I mean, it should always be the goal to be social and start an actual conversation via your posts. Your posts are the vehicle. They're not an end in and of themselves. So using social media to gather a community around you, using social media to nurture that community is really just the best possible use for it. And I think people are discovering that more and more.
And you just said one of my favorite things, which is the key word in social media is social.
It really is.
And it's so easy to forget that because you're
so many people forget it. It's terrible.
Right. Okay. Well, and so why do you think that?
I think that is because people have. So marketers ruin everything, basically, is the short answer. So social media started out as not a marketing thing. It started out specifically as a community, specifically the Harvard campus. And then it expanded to different colleges, but it was still very insulated and it was still based on a pre-existing community, connecting that pre-existing community via social media. It was another opportunity to be social. And then once marketers got a hold of it and it became something that brands could do, it became part of the marketing toolkit. But instead of learning how to use it properly, a lot of people started using it like marketing tools of yore. They started using it like advertising. They started using it as a broadcast medium. And it is not. It is a conversational medium. And so we're starting to see the return to what it was originally meant to be. Smart brands are doing it. Other brands are just kind of kicking rocks and saying, oh, social doesn't work and it's all pay to play. Well, it's not all pay to play. You just have to know what the algorithms want, and what the algorithms want are conversations, because what the people want are conversations.
You put that so well. I have nothing to add.
I talk about it a lot. I give a lot of thought to this sort of thing, Deb.
Well, and I always say that you need your people to achieve your goals, which is why social media is so important. And a lot of people get bogged down. And I love it. Don't you love the question, how do I make my post go viral? How do I make
God.
Right? So how do you answer
make it
that?
go viral? Just that's the answer to everyone's problems. And also get the numbers up. Everyone always wants their numbers up, but they don't even know what the numbers mean. They don't know what the numbers translate to. And they just want these vanity metrics. They want these kind of old ways of measuring influence and impact. But that's not really how it works anymore. Now impact is more about who you're making an impression on. Are you making an impression that will lead to anything actually happening? Because it doesn't matter if you have, 100,000 followers if 70,000 of them don't care about you or don't care what you do. Well, actually, 30,000 would still be pretty nice. But it's about looking at that ratio. It's about looking at your actual influence. And it's about caring about building a relationship rather than making a transaction. That's what social media is for. And, marketing sort of moved the goalposts there, but now they're moving back into place and they're realizing, wait, the way to do this is not to do it like we do everything else. The way to do this is to take advantage of this new and different opportunity.
And do you think the changes are as a result of all this recent isolation, or is it just people are hitting that brick wall and nothing's working, so they have to get back to basics?
It's been happening for many years. I definitely have been, I go to a lot of conferences and I listen to, thought leaders and whatnot. And people have been talking about this shift for a long time. But, and in fact, Mark Schaefer's book, Marketing Rebellion, is partially about this sort of people don't want to hear from marketers. People don't want to feel sold to. It feels icky. It's reached a point of saturation. People don't trust it. It's no longer effective. People want people. People trust people. That's why influencers became a thing, and brands are starting to realize increasingly that they can have that direct relationship. They don't have to necessarily go through influencers. They can develop a direct relationship if they focus on developing a relationship. And, but I do absolutely think that 2020 accelerated it. It greatly accelerated the trends that were already happening in terms of making a return to humanity. And I think for 3 key reasons. And it's funny because I haven't mapped this out before. I'm just kind of going with it here. But 3 key
Works for me.
I'm like, oh, wow, someone smart just popped into my head. 3 key reasons I think 2020 made an impact. One of them is the social isolation. Like you said, we crave human connection. And we're spending so much time online that we just do not have it in us to sit through a damn sales pitch. No, we crave connection, but if we go online and the first thing we see is someone trying to sell to us, we're going to hop right back off. It's going to make us feel more isolated, not less. So brands that have actually respected that and used that in a non-sleazy way have been doing better with that. And I think that people are really realizing that. The distance between the ones who are doing it right and the ones who are not is growing wider. There's very little middle. Another thing that I think has also sort of pushed this, these next 2 are related to each other. So one of them is that there's been a rise in what's called dark social. So that's, instead of a public feed that everyone can see on the Facebook wall, things are more moving towards, chat bots, getting into those DMs. There's even, there's SMS messaging where brands are communicating with people directly through text. That is on the rise. So all of these more direct communication methods are really, again, widening that gulf between the brands people feel they have a relationship with and brands that are just brands and thus just noise. And then the third part that has really pushed that over the edge is that 2020 was a year with a lot of social issues at the forefront. There were, of course, a lot of racial reckonings, especially in the United States, Black Lives Matter movement, all of that. There were also political things happening. All of these things, normally in old times, the common wisdom was brands do not touch anything with a 10-foot pole. Brands just be benign, apply, appeal to everyone. Don't take a stand, because God, why would you do that? You're going to alienate people. That's unprofessional. But because we feel like we're in a relationship with these brands, they've slid into our DMs, they're texting us, they are showing us user-generated content that sometimes features us. We have started to hold brands that we have that type of relationship with to a higher standard. They are part of our lives. They're relationships we have. They're like friends. And just like you probably wouldn't accept a friend kind of behaving in a certain way or refusing to denounce something that you find especially odious. I mean, some people would. Some people are very, but in 2020, a lot of people have really started holding brands to a higher standard, not only dragging brands for staying silent and saying to brands, look, you have these platforms, you need to use them for good, as we would a person. I mean, we're holding them to person standards. In addition to saying, saying nothing is, silence is always on the side of the oppressor, not the oppressed, so in addition to holding them to those standards, there's also, even when the brands do speak up, even when the brands do say something, we're now especially holding their feet to the fire and saying, well, we have all this visibility now. Like back in the old days, you wouldn't know where a company donates to unless you had, special like journalistic access to records or whatever. But now it's a click of a button away. We can track what all these brands are doing and all of this accessible information. And, we have people from within companies like tweeting about, oh, when I worked there, here's what happened. I mean, there's so much information we have access to that we have also, in addition to holding brands to a higher standard in terms of what they say publicly, we're also holding them to an even higher standard in terms of what they do and what they are supporting with their actual actions, how they're treating people within their organizations. And so it's been, on the one hand, that means that kind of canceling brands has kind of run a little amok. I mean, but on the other hand, it's really an interesting time. Because on the one hand, it seems like, oh God, if you're a brand, why would you even want to deal with that mess? But the answer is, because the people who love you are going to really love you. The people who love you are going to tell their friends about you. The people who love you and stand by you are going to see you as a reflection of themselves to a deeper level and be proud to stand by you and support you. So that was a really long-winded answer, but the fact remains 2020 brands can't just be a box on a shelf anymore. Brands on social media have really become relationships and parts of our lives to a higher degree. And it requires a higher standard of behavior, but it also reaps much bigger dividends in terms of activating that person-to-person network that has always been popular since the beginning of marketing kind. That was the first type of marketing to ever exist. Someone telling someone. So
we're basically going back to basics.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is, and I'm going to boil down what you just said into like one of my mom's favorite lines, which is, there are no secrets.
There really aren't.
So you have to be yourself because there are no secrets.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There you go.
And what you were saying, it's just so important. So now, in a lot of my community, as you know, it's entrepreneurs, writers, creatives trying to make a mark for themselves. So they need to behave like brands, only better.
Yes.
Is that your advice?
I can absolutely see that. And I've seen a few incidents where authors we've all seen incidents where authors have been dragged just because either somebody decided that they didn't have the right to tell that particular story, or maybe, or there have always been situations where a writer presented something as true that was not, or maybe they presented something on a press tour in their backs as part of their own personal backstory to add interest, and turn out the publisher made that up for book sales. There's always been stories like that, but now more than ever, now that authors are communicating with their communities directly,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing because on the one hand, there's such opportunity there. If you are good at connecting with that audience and with that prospective audience, that's going to do so much more for your book and for your ability to get another publishing deal and for your whole personal brand and just kind of getting that momentum going as an author than you've ever had access to before. Previously, the publishing company would do all of that for you, and they still do sometimes, but increasingly you can take things into your own hands. But on the other hand, it means you got to watch your step because it can all fall down and people, again, there are no secrets, as you said. And so just making sure to keep your nose clean, basically. But you also have all these incredible stories of people getting published based on, contacting the right people on social media. I know a great, I wish I could remember her name. I'm the worst. That book, The Hate You Give.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see who wrote that. Angie Thomas. So Angie Thomas wrote this great book, The Hate You Give. Very popular book. It's been turned into a movie. It's won 1 million awards. And she was participating in a Twitter chat before she published her book. She was participating in a Twitter chat, or she was just tweeting or something about, about getting published. She happened to tweet a friend of mine. She happened to tweet my friend Brooke Sherman, who I went to college with, and he is a book agent. And so she asked him for advice, and they got to talking, and oh, hey, she wound up getting her book published. And of course, the reason her book was published is because it was good. But the fact remains that she got a foot in the door without having powerful connections or anything like that, because she made a relationship on social media. She reached out and she made a connection. Hey, John. So that is, a great, I still haven't actually read it, but my friend Brooks has a few stories like that where people have just reached out to him on social media. And again, if you don't have a good book, it's not going to get published. But if you have a good book, everyone knows that doesn't mean it will get published. You have to get it in front of the right people who have the power to do that.
And I do have to say, so we're on the Mango Publishing Facebook page, and they're my publisher, and we love authors who have their own voice, who have a story to tell and information. And they, whenever something goes out, they're like, jump on it, and it gets shared everywhere. So they're really wonderful at amplifying
the signal.
And I know that not everybody is like that. So I know I'm fortunate. They're also the ones who said, "Hey, Deb, do you want to turn Gold Chat into a live show?" Okay, why not?
Support is key. Sharing the signal is key. Mm-hmm. Signal boosting and helping give everyone who has something to say a chance to say it is just, it's so valuable. That is the currency now of social media. And that is ultimately a relationship currency, because the fact is they're not going to amplify anyone who randomly says, "Hey, I have something to say," but they have the judgment to say, you know what, this is someone we stand by. This is someone we associate ourselves with. We're happy to spread the signal, to share the love, to, put this person forth as a representative of our brand, because we think that people who follow us will find it valuable.
So if somebody is, okay, so we talked about authors. I want to shift to the entrepreneurial person.
Yes.
Because a lot of the people that I think you and I both know, I think we have over 100 people in common. It's ridiculous.
Oh,
probably. But what can regular people do to stand out?
Define regular people.
Non-brands. Solopreneurs, consultants, entrepreneurs, and even authors, people who feel like they're and this is why I like Gold Chat so much, because we have our regulars every week. I know sometimes it's a little late for East Coast, but we always love it when you pop on. But it's these people are hey, my people. It's great big hugs on the Twitterverse every Sunday night to get everybody's week off to a great start. So that is one form of community development, but how do people stand out beyond the people they know whether you're a business or an author, an entrepreneur, or what have you,
Mhm.
how do you get that basis out there? How do you stand out?
So one of the biggest things that I would say is to lead with value. And that sounds so cheesy. That's marketing speak. So I will put it in proper English. When you have identified the community that you want to get in front of,
Mm-hmm.
and you've identified where they are, when you show up in those spaces, in those communities, on those Twitter chats, on those LinkedIn threads, on those Facebook comment threads, anywhere, when you show up in those spaces, when you are having the opportunity to engage with any member of that community, leave an impression of being someone who is advantageous to know in some way, shape, or form, even if it is as humble an offering as support. So if you can reach out to someone and tell them why you're following them, because why you think what they're doing is great, that brings value. It's flattery, but the fact is it brings value, especially if you prove that you value them by showing up day after day or by sharing their stuff with your own community.
Mm-hmm.
Another way is if you actually do know something, share it freely. If it's something that person, not only that person, but that person's audience would probably find valuable. It's kind of like showing up to the party with a bottle of good wine or charming anecdotes or whatever. If you're at someone else's party, you want to make sure that people aren't going, what's she doing here? Or that you're, just a non-entity. It's good to, if you're trying to make an impression, if you're trying to kind of build a community and be a brand and become part of a community, you want to leave an impression, and you want to leave a good impression. So that's what I mean by lead with value. It means don't just, first of all, lurking is not as awesome, because yes, it builds someone's, total views, and sometimes it'll build their following count. But the fact is, the most valuable thing you can give people on social media is engagement, because not only are they getting information, but it's also algorithmically to their benefit, because of course, all of the social media algorithms value posts that are getting comments. They value posts that are starting conversations. This is true across the board. So you're already showing up with a gift when you show up with a comment. You're especially showing up with a gift if you show up regularly and comment regularly. There's even more value to sharing people's stuff. There's even more value to, providing value yourself in a way that's not show-offy. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. Another thing that I always advise is be aware of your digital footprint, because if someone sees you in one place, they'll probably go try to find you in other places. They'll probably look you up to some degree. But even if they're just finding you in that one place, what are they seeing? What is registering in like a quick split-second view of your profile? If they're just skimming, what do they know about you? What do they know about you right off the bat? Maybe you want people to know what you do for a living. Maybe you want people to know the company you work for. Maybe you want people to know the service you provide. Maybe it's none of that. Maybe you just want people to know a personal interest, because that's something that's really you, and that really is something to know about you. Whatever you want to put forth, just be aware of what that quick skim impression is. And again, they are going to probably try to find you in multiple places. Hopefully they are, if you're sufficiently interesting. So make sure it's clear that you're the same you in all those places as well, that kind of brand is consistent.
Yeah. I was waiting for you to use the B word. Branding.
B word. I love that word. Brand.
Well, it's true, because, and this is really funny, because I remember years ago like maybe 10, 12,
Mm-hmm.
when there were a lot of meetups, when meetups were first getting popular.
Yeah.
And the trick was, you were supposed to be, if you did 5 things, you should be like one thing just at that party, so it had consistency. And then somewhere about 2-3 years ago, it seemed if you were one thing, you seem strange, because everybody is a bunch of things. So whatever your brand is, even if it involves multiple versions of you, that's something you should embrace, right?
I think it is something to embrace. I think that's what could stand out, because the fact is we all know someone who, no matter what it is that you do, someone else does it. So what element of who you are and what you bring to it is unique? What is going to stand out in people's minds? Because it is not going to be your job title. They've met someone else with your job title before.
Mm-hmm.
So what about your story can you share that is going to stand out as special or different or memorable, or even valuable? That's another thing. A lot of people, they worry that if they've changed careers or if they've changed, their focus along the way, that it will somehow make them seem less accomplished, less consistent, whatever. But no, if you spin it the right way, it makes you seem well-rounded. It shows that you bring a unique perspective, perhaps, if you don't have the typical background. So I do that a lot with clients, actually, especially realtors. I've worked with a lot of realtors. There are a lot of realtors. So one of the things that I always work through with them is I say, okay, I know you can do all the things. I know you can sell a historic home by the river. You can also sell, a super modern condo in, or a detached home in the thick of suburbia. You can do all the things. You can help buyers, you can help sellers, you can help people in all these towns in which you're licensed, or the state in which you're licensed. But who needs to find you and why? And they're like, well, anyone. I'm like, no. Other people will find you. I promise you, people who you don't even want to help will find you. Do you know how many people I get asking me to do their website? I don't put myself out there as doing websites. People will find you. But if you could wave a magic wand and do one thing the most, or if you had to identify something that you seem to just really click with, especially, what would that be? And, I've had people then say, oh, well, my husband and I flip houses for fun. I'm like, are you kidding me? Why didn't you lead with that? The people who want to do that should find you, or people who are interested in renovation and the potential of fixer-uppers, the handyman special, whatever. Because you're someone who has the expertise and the vision to help them find that right place. And you'll also not lead them astray, because you'll know when something's a dud from experience. Like, that's who needs to find you. Or sometimes people will say, well, I like helping people who are downsizing. That's become really interesting. Like the older people who are just kind of done with the full house and they're ready to just go to a condo. I love that because they just have less drama. And I'm like, that's great. Put yourself, position yourself that way. And it doesn't mean they can't post other listings or whatever. It just means they're kind of non-listing, branding posts should appeal to what's on those people's minds, like space-saving techniques, how to decorate a smaller place, advantages of not having a house. These are things that are on that person's mind. So when you know who you're talking to, it's a lot easier to speak their language, but you got to back up a little more and think about whose language you really want to be speaking. What do you want? Who do you really enjoy helping? And then think about what they need from you.
I love this so much because, the D and the DEB method is determine your mission. And that's really all about, when you think of Goaltopia, that perfect life, what is that? And what is unique about you? So you're totally speaking my language here. Surprise, surprise. Start with the basics and what makes you unique, because and usually when I do that example, I say food bloggers because they are also everywhere.
Yes.
But I loved your real estate example because it's true. There are a gazillion people who do what you do. And so other than by virtue of being you, what do you personally, Christine, do to stand out? Who do you like to attract?
Again, I'm in the middle of sort of transitioning that, because I do have a huge heart for small local businesses, and that is the bulk of my clientele for sure, and it will remain such, and it has been since the beginning. But I realized at some point, a couple of years ago, I realized that in all of my putting myself out there and building community, I was not reaching those people as much, because the people who I was trying to help, they weren't big on social media. And of course, that's where I was showing up. That wasn't necessarily where they were going to find me, because they weren't really on social media. That's why they need my help.
Right.
Meanwhile, I was killing it with the audience of my peers. Fellow marketers thought that I was great, but they couldn't hire me because they had no need to. And so I realized at some point last year, basically, I said, well, what could I help them with? You know, and so that's when that's not the entire reason why I shifted my focus to personal branding. I also shifted my focus to personal branding because I looked at one of the most satisfying parts of the work that I had already been doing with clients. And I said, I want to niche down. I want to be kind of known for something and a little more specialized in something. Now, when people are asking me to speak, that's often what they're asking me to speak on, personal branding, specifically on social media. And so it was mostly that I wanted to own something, and that has actually worked out really, really well. I've gotten way more known very quickly once I had a thing, but also it's something that I can offer the community I already have. I have some fellow marketers on my client list now, because even though they know how, they're not doing it. So I coach them and help them get out of their own way. I help them kind of take a clearer look and look at themselves as a client a little bit more. I help them do the things that maybe are kind of blind spots when it comes to them. So I am able to help my peers now. And so that's part of it. It wasn't just an opportunity. It was also looking at things that were already organic to me. The community that I had built was already, you know, I was clearly striking a chord with fellow marketers. It's the audience that I had. It's what was working. I followed what was working. And and I also followed my heart in what was satisfying. The most satisfying part of the work that I do with clients, including my small business clients, is really at the very beginning, when I have to sort of pry out of them, what is special about you? Because there's something. What is special about you? What makes you unique? What makes you a freaking rock star? And people are like, well, I mean, nothing. It's just, I do this, you know, and I'm like, no. What makes you a rock star? And it's hard for people. Like, I'm part therapist, honestly, because I'm not telling them what to do so much as asking them the right questions to sort of get there, so we can get them out of their own way. And it's really satisfying, and helping people realize that they're more of a rock star than they thought, and how to put it out there. Also, people feel weird about self-promotion. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, don't, because if you don't promote yourself, the people who need you can't find you. You're doing them a service. And people don't think of it that way. But honestly, like, you are doing the people who you can help a service by being visible, by being findable, by being clear about what you do, who you are, how you can help them. And I realized that I could do that for all sorts of people. So I was able to simultaneously like narrow my niche and expand my niche. I was narrowing my topic niche to being more about personal branding and engagement. Engagement has also become my jam, being human, because that's how you put your personal brand into the world, by being a person. And not stressing about a perfectly polished image, but by being a person and putting it out there. And so I narrowed my niche to the personal branding element a little bit more, but that made me able to expand my niche of who I help and how I help them. I also had an opportunity last year that I felt a little weird about at first, because an enormous corporation contacted me about doing a workshop for them. And for half a minute, I was like, I help tiny businesses. Is this one of the huge corporations that they claim is killing them? Like, is this on brand for me? Is this on value for me? And then I realized that what they wanted from me was exactly what I already do, like exactly what I would be teaching a small local business. And I said, you know what? My messaging is the same. My core messaging is exactly the same. I'm teaching them how to be more human. I'm teaching them how to connect to their community better, teaching them how to develop relationships. I'm teaching them the superpower of small. And so I said, you know what? It's not off brand. Furthermore, it's not off brand for me to make more freaking money. Because you know what? That means that I can actually, my goal eventually, what I would really love to do is to get my business and myself to a financial place where I can actually lower prices for certain clients, because there are small businesses that I would love to help, but they can't afford me. And I can't afford to not charge the prices I charge. So I would love to get to a point where the higher end clients are almost funding my ability to help the lower end clients. I did a ton of volunteer work actually in 2020 because my business didn't suffer. And I had survivor's guilt. And so I offered completely free help to members of 2 very local chambers of commerce that I'm a part of. And I loved it. I was like, I feel really good that I'm offering them a tremendous amount of value, and I'm able to just give it to them. And I don't want to give it away, but the fact is, I would love to be at a point where I could kind of mark off, a certain amount of time per month towards,
perfect.
Up towards really low priced helping businesses under a certain size. Because I don't ever want to stop serving those businesses. I have heart for them. I think that they drive our communities. I think that they need this help. I think they can put it to good use. But at the same time, I've got to eat. So being able to do both is going to be really satisfying. And I'm excited to be able to get there by doing bigger things.
You totally have your Goldtopia down. So gold star. Wait, where's my gold stars? I think you need one.
Yay!
So what is something, because we could talk all day, but we probably shouldn't, but we could. What are a few things the people who are watching who are like, social, what do you have to say? Because, come on, let's face it.
Oh, boy, do I hear that. Yeah, I hear that.
You need to be on, and I get that all the time. You need to be on social media. Well, I don't like it. Well, but you need to at least be on it a little so people can find you, because it's a legitimacy thing, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you, I'll rephrase it again. What do you say to those who are like, social?
Number 1 is I let them know they don't have to be everywhere. That is really key.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I tell them there, in fact, is not any place they technically fully 100% need to be. Kind of, but not really. So, for example, I do think that just about every professional should be on LinkedIn, should at least have a thorough, accurate profile. But
Agreed.
If they hate LinkedIn, I'm not going to tell them to log into LinkedIn every day. I'll say just make sure, it's tended to periodically. But you don't have to come up with a whole content strategy for LinkedIn if you hate LinkedIn. No, because you're not going to do it. I have a client who she didn't like any social media at first. Now that we've worked together, she's fallen in love with Instagram, which is great. And she started blogging, and she has a great email list. Like, she found the things that work for her. But one of the first things we talked about, she said, please, God, tell me I cannot be on Facebook. I hate Facebook. She's in an industry where Facebook matters for visibility, but we set up her Facebook profile so that it did as much of the heavy lifting passively as possible. Everything that could be personalized and that could direct people to how to actually contact her, not on Facebook, we did. We even turned on in Messenger, in Facebook Messenger, when someone messages her, before they even message her, it tells them that they should really email or call. And then if someone sends her a message anyway, it responds by saying, thank you so much for reaching out. Please email us at blah, 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 or call us at blah, blah, blah. We can't wait to hear from you. So, and she also, even though it's not a best practice to automatically post your Instagram posts to your Facebook, because they're different platforms, different things work differently on them, you know what? I gave her permission, because I said, if it's going to get stuff up there, sure, just go in and edit and take out your hashtags from the Facebook post. Make sure that if you've tagged any places, you just, correct those tags for Facebook. Because even though ideally my clients have completely different content strategies for different platforms, if the alternative is not getting it done or hating it or dreading it, you know what? I'm going to give you a pass. I'm going to say, the most important thing for you to do is the thing you'll actually do. And the most important platform for you to be on is the one that you keep logging onto. And the most important place for you to develop those relationships is a place where you'll show up.
100, 200, 300, 1,000% agree with everything. Be branded everywhere and show up to the places where you're going to be engaged, because that's how you're going to find your people and develop conversations and relationships and ultimately, succeed.
Yeah.
Easy, right? Okay, and we also need to give a bonus goal. So if you're watching today, what goal do you think we should give people for, and let's call them non-haters, because mostly someone's going to watch this because they really want to be better at getting who they are, what they stand for out there. So what is a nice social media goal that we can give to our listeners, watchers, viewers, people?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to say, I think the most productive social media habit is not the right word. Routine is not the right word. I can't find the right word, Deb, but I would say one of the most productive things you can do on social media that is the simultaneously the smallest ask, but the biggest reward, but also people don't do it, is get into the habit of commenting and of replying. When I go onto a social media platform, the first place I go is my notifications, because I want to make sure that before I do anything else, I'm replying to people who have taken a moment out of their day to comment to me, to mention me in something, to retweet me. I want to make sure I start with kind of repaying that engagement. But then the next thing I do is I look at where I can engage with other people's stuff. And by engage, I don't mean click like or give it a heart. I mean give them a comment, give them something that's going to actually help them. And that will expose me to their audience, honestly, because if you like something, that doesn't show you to their audience. If you comment on something, that shows you to their audience. So everybody benefits from those comments. And again, another thing that I tell clients all the time who are resistant to this, because they're not the people like me who are like scrolling on their phones all day long. They don't enjoy that. So I tell them, while your coffee is brewing in the morning, hop onto one of those social platforms, just knock out a few, just knock out a few, and eventually it'll get easier and it'll feel more targeted, and you'll start getting a sense of what is and isn't a waste of time, and you'll find more of the right people and all of that. But really, the thing that I would say is give yourself a goal of leaving more comments, because that's really where the gold is on social media.
That's wonderful. And I always say I love the Instant Pot because it's great for productivity, because you could put something up to cook and then you can work on things. But I like your coffee thing. That's even better, because it's not even 5 minutes and it's easy.
It's such a weird flex, but I will say that so my husband does our dishes because he's a wonderful human being. And but the thing is, we have a dishwasher. We have a small, crappy dishwasher. But we have a dishwasher. So there's all this stuff piling in the sink all the time that's not dishwasher stuff, like our pots and stuff like that. I mean, we could, but we don't. Anyway, so when the dishwasher, the plates, the cups, all that stuff, when the dishwasher is clean, it means a lot to my husband for me to just empty it. Put the dishes away, put the dishes that are dishwasher dishes from the sink into the dishwasher. Just manage that part of the process. And of course I put it off. I procrastinate. I'm like, oh, but I don't want to empty the dishes right now. Then one day I timed it. One day I put on the stopwatch on my phone, put the dishes away, and it took less than 2 minutes. It took less than 2 minutes, Deb. So now anytime I pass by the dishwasher and I'm aware that it's clean and I'm tempted to just keep on going, I say, nope. It takes less than 2 minutes. Just do it. It's worth it.
And I'm feeling like this is a social media analogy coming.
Yeah. What that is just realize that it doesn't have to take a lot of time. And the more you do it, the more you get your routine down and you get in the hang of it. Because of course, if my 6-year-old daughter empties the dishwasher, it does not take her a minute and a half. It takes her like 7 minutes because she doesn't have her routine down. She has to get on a chair to do things, And at first, we're all that 6-year-old. At first, we're kind of getting our bearings, and maybe while your coffee's brewing, you found like 2 things to comment on. But you know what? Once you get into the hang of it, once you get a habit, once you get your routine down of, okay, I go here and then I go here. Once you get into the groove of what works for you, you can knock out, 50 comments in the time your coffee brews. Like maybe not 50, but once you get into the habit of it, once you strengthen that muscle, it'll become much easier, much less painful, much more efficient, and just do it. So I would say that the best social media habit to develop, and the best practice to do, and the best goal to have of something to achieve is, I want to get to the point where I'm commenting on stuff every single day or every single weekday. You can take weekends off.
Oh, that's so nice of you. Yeah.
I'm a giver. You don't have to be active on every platform, and you don't have to comment on stuff on weekends if you don't want to.
Well, you just gave two gimmies, which is perfect, because I am all about, you do what works for you, and that way you will do it more often.
That is really, really true.
And this has been wonderful. So to recap, Christine's
my
awesome.
daughter just walked in. She's going to come say hi. Come here, baby.
Oh, awesome. And I'm sure she's adorable when she's doing the dishwasher, isn't she? Hi, how are you doing?
Everything. Say hi, Ellie.
Hi.
Are you having a great day?
Yeah.
Yeah? What did you do today? What was the most fun thing you did today?
School?
Yeah, she went to school in real life today, so that was exciting.
Wow, that's awesome. What's your favorite subject?
What's your favorite subject?
I
don't know what it is.
Math.
Math? Women in STEM.
Yes! Awesome.
Do you like writing stories? This lady's a writer.
Do you like writing stories?
No, but I do like to write.
She does like to write.
Awesome. Well, when you get bigger, or even if you ever have any writing questions, you just email me or have your mom do it, okay? Because I started writing stories when I was your age, because I love stories too.
Stories are how we connect to people.
It really is. And I remember when I wrote my blogging book, in my intro I say I was born to blog because I always loved telling stories, slice of life sharing, which ties back into what you were saying about social media. You're giving of yourself, you're sharing what makes you unique, and you're making connections, and that ultimately will build your business and get you more out into the world.
Yes.
Perfect. Oh, and Christina, who's a publicist, wants to know what you write.
What do you write, Ellie?
Because I think she's looking to rep.
Sometimes books. Sometimes story about my life.
Yeah, she's working on her memoirs.
Sometimes about my day.
They're very short.
But I'm much more better at drawing landscapes.
You're very good at drawing landscapes. Okay, baby, I'll be down in a little bit.
That's like the only thing I do in free time.
Okay.
Draw landscapes.
Got creative kids.
Creative. Well, I wrote a book called Purple Pencil Adventures, Writing Prompts for Kids of All Ages.
Oh my goodness. I show that to her and to her older brother. Her older brother started his novel over the summer.
Excellent. Well, I will absolutely send that your way, because I'm sure this was the whole purpose. Was I was coaching a grown-up, and she asked me to coach her daughter, and I'm like, well, if I'm coaching, I'm going to have a blog with Purple Pencil Adventures. Oh, I want to write a book. I have Purple Pencil Adventures. Things do kind of spiral. But back to social media. Okay. Be people, be human, make social media goals, stick to it, and it doesn't have to be painful. It should be fun.
Yes.
That pretty much.
Feel wrong, it's not where you're going to shine.
Say that one more time.
If it feels wrong, it's not where you're going to shine, which doesn't mean push past your, comfort zone. I mean, you should. By putting yourself out there at all is pushing past your comfort zone to some degree. There's a difference between pushing the boundaries of your comfort zone versus doing something where it's like, what am I doing here? So just kind of tuning into that.
Yeah, figure out that balance. But the bonus goal, really, really easy. A few minutes a day, just comment, post.
Yeah.
Just comment on posts and interact and be respectful, because if someone's commenting on your stuff, you want to reply as well. Start building those relationships. There's no time like the present. Just start engaging and be more social.
Yep.
Right?
Throw love other people's way. It comes back.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Christine, for joining me today to talk about social media. It's been so much fun for me. I hope you all who are watching are enjoying. Feel free to share your favorite social media tip in the comments, and you can catch the replay and the recap of this on thedebmethod.com/blog, and the link is in the comments. And I keep using the wrong mouse because I think I'm on the computer that wasn't working. That's why I keep going like this, like, why is it real?
You're keeping it real. You're being
absolutely. And if you like more information about my book, if you go to yourgoalguidebook.com, it'll take you to Amazon, or go to your favorite bookstore, because I am all about helping you achieve all those goals. And Christine is all about helping you brand yourself the right way as you move forward. So there we go. Thank you so much. Where can people find you?
Well, I'm the only Christine Gritmon, which is very nice because I had to share my maiden name, and I've been the only Christine Gritmon for like almost 13 years now. So I am Gritmon.com. I'm C Gritmon on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm Christine Gritmon on LinkedIn. I'm Christine Gritmon Inc. on Facebook and YouTube. And again, Gritmon.com has all of it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to catch Goal Chat every Sunday night at 7 Pacific on Twitter. And I will be back next Monday with another awesome Goal Chat Live. So thanks everybody. Good luck with your social media goals. And remember, you can do it.
Bye.